Social Good Week。
皆様お待たせしました。いよいよ始まりました。コースタジオプレゼンツソーシャルグッドウィークスペシャルトークセッション Future of Startups スタートアップのリアルと未来。私、コースタジオ株式会社の小宮信明が司会を務めさせていただきます。どうぞ今日はよろしくお願いいたします。はい。まずはじめに私のご紹介から移らせていただきたいと思います。スライドお願いいたします。はい。私、小宮信明と申します。コースタジオ株式会社で現在、インターン生として働かせていただいております。で現在、立教大学に在学中でございます。でこれまででは、人材系スタートアップであったり、エドテック系のベンチャーであったりだとか、いくつかのベンチャーを経験させていただきました。で現在では、コースタジオで誰もがビジネスを起こせるようなエコシステムを作ることを目指して、日々、邁進中の若干キャパオーバーな大学生となっております。はい。今日は皆様よろしくお願いいたします。はい。続きまして、まずはじめにオープニングトークとしまして、10分程度本日の流れであったりだとか、企画の趣旨、ゲスト紹介に移らさせていただきたいと思います。はい。続きまして、本日の流れとしましては、オープニングトークとして10分程度お話しさせていただいた後、3つのトークセッション、15分ずつですね、各15分ずつのトークセッションを行わせていただきます。その後にクロージングとして5分間ほどお話しさせていただきたいと思います。はい。次に企画の趣旨なんですけれども、こちらではVUCA時代のこれからのスタートアップをテーマに、様々な領域で世界をまたいで活躍されているイノベーターであったり、ウガンダ出身の起業家、VCist を招いての完全リアルトークセッションを開催いたします。一応台本っていうのも用意してあるんですけれども、完全アドリブも OK というところもさせていただいておりますので、私も何が来るのかとても本当に待ち望んでますね。はい。今日はよろしくお願いいたします。はい。続きまして、ちょっと大変お待たせしましたが、ゲスト紹介に移らさせていただきたいと思います。はい。まずはこの方、森若幸丈さんです。森若さん、自己紹介よろしくお願いいたします。
Good morning, everybody! Thanks for inviting me here today. 小宮さん。皆さんおはようございます。森若幸丈でございます。ジョンさんとか巷では、ソーシャルメディアで、クレイジージョンとかね、言われてますけれども、森若でございます。日刊工業新聞とかで、イノベーションプロバイダーという肩書きでコラムを書かせていただいたり、フォーブスジャパンであったり、ドリームゲートであったりですね、コラムを毎月書いたりですね。あとは、情報系イノベーション専門職大学とか、ミャンマーの大学の客員教授とか、あと、ゼブラ企業、医療機器とかですね、の販売であったり、開発の森若という会社で働いております。あと、自ら立ち上げたシリコンバレーベンチャーズでは、スタートアップから、中小企業、大企業のアドバイザー、顧問もさせていただいておりまして、日々、オープンイノベーションの、推進に、皆様と共に働かせてもらっております。あとは、ラップでですね、世界を変えるために出した歌、Down with Us っていう歌であったり、ハーバードのエリートはなぜプレッシャーに強いのかっていう本であったりですね、そういったことをさせていただいております。今日は素晴らしい仲間とですね、シリコンバレーの仲間とお話できるのを楽しみにしてます。ご視聴ありがとうございます。
はい。今日はちょっとモデレーターの方をちょっと、はい、お任せしたっていうところもあるんですけれども、はい。今日は面白い会になることをちょっとお待ちしてますので、今日はよろしくお願いいたします。
はい、小宮さん、皆さんよろしくお願いします。
はい、よろしくお願いします。はい、続いてはこの方です。はい、ソロモン・セネアンゲさんです。ソロモンさん、自己紹介お願いいたします。ミュートかもしれないです。
Oh, sorry. Hello, everybody. My name is Solomon Senyange, and I am a former CEO and co-founder of a company called Pirishore. Some of you might know it. It created a product for the asthma market, and it was a breathalyzer. And June of this year, I was able to sell it to a Japanese company based in Nagoya. John was good enough to write a very good article about me in Forbes, so please read it. I have since moved on to start my next startup company, called Single Helix Genomics, and it has to do with mRNA and the manufacturing and production of mRNA. All of you probably know about Moderna and Pfizer and COVID vaccines based out of mRNA. So I'm hoping to do some good things. And I am here today to give you a good understanding of what it is to be an entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, especially one that has exited a company. So thank you, and I look forward to talking to you.
はい、ソロモンさん、ありがとうございました。今日はシリコンバレーで実際に起業されたリアルについてちょっとお伺いするのを楽しみにしております。はい、今日はよろしくお願いいたします。続いてはこの方です。清峰正史さんです。清峰さん、自己紹介よろしくお願いいたします。
どうも、キッカーベンチャーズの清峰です。私は、そうですね、キャリアのすべてを基本的にアメリカで、起業してまして、すべて、ずっとベンチャーキャピタルをやってます。で、そうですね、ヘルスケアのベンチャーキャピタリストっていうのを15年やってまして、今、キッカーベンチャーズっていうのを立ち上げまして、いろんな本当にプロジェクトをやっています。で、なので、本当に、ベンチャーキャピタリストの視点っていうのは、多分ちょっと、事業会社だったりとか、アントレプレーナーとまた違う視点だと思いますので、そういう視点も含めて、しかもずっと海外の視点なので、もう海外から見た日本っていうのも含めた視点というか、ディスカッションをさせていただければなと思います。
はい。よ
ろしくお願いします。
はい。清峰さん、ありがとうございます。今日はちょっと VC 側の視点というところも、はい、設けさせていただいてますので、こちらからの意見も、はい、お待ちしております。今日はよろしくお願いいたします。はい。続いては、時間もそろそろあれになってきましたので、ここからは、森赤さんにモデレートをしていただくトークセッションに移りたいと思っております。はい。森赤さん、よろしくお願いいたします。
はい、小宮さん、ありがとうございます。それでは私、クレイジージョンがモデレーターをさせていただきます。So from now, thanks for watching. I'll be the moderator for the talk session. So let's have a fun. So before we start, hope all your families, friends, and yourself have been staying safe and happy. 皆さん、コロナ禍ですけれども、世界中の皆様のご家族、皆様の健康を願って、今からソーシャルグッドウィーク、トークセッションを始めたいと思います。はい。So let's talk about, firstly, I'd like to talk about, Solomon, I'd like to congratulate your successful exit in this June. And also congratulations to Masashi for finding your venture capital again and Kika Ventures. So I'm very happy to be here today with two great friends in Silicon Valley. So Solomon, tell us about your exit, a little bit about your exit.
Oh, the exit. When I started the company 8 years ago, I had the imagination, the dream of helping patients with asthma. Along the way, I ran into a lot of challenges. And, from all the way from timing to business models to funding, there are many challenges along the way that a startup founder must face and be successful at navigating. So what I have learned is that, not just having a brain, but perseverance and being able to, how do I call it? To pivot when one faces a challenge it's a very, very important aspect of being an entrepreneur, and not just in Silicon Valley, but in everything, in all places in the world where there's a startup ecosystem. So, John, let me stop right there and see if you want to translate.
All right. Thanks, Solomon. And so you are originally from Africa and moved to Canada and had a PhD. And how did you come to Silicon Valley? Like, why did you decide to come to Silicon Valley and start your journey as an entrepreneur?
Well, that's a very good question, John. So I came to Silicon Valley for work, and when I graduated my postdoctoral studies at Ohio State University, I decided that I did not want to go into teaching at the university. So I joined a company here in Silicon Valley that does semiconductor manufacturing. And then along the way, I decided that I wanted to help change the world in bigger ways than just making silicon products for Samsung, Sony, and all these other big companies. And so I looked for an unmet need. And the unmet need here was that for asthma, there was very little to no innovation when it comes to the diagnosis and management of asthma. So I read a newspaper article that said, if you can come up with this exhaled nitric oxide monitor, one would be able to change the way asthma is not only diagnosed, but the way it's managed. And that's how I had this light bulb moment. We call it light bulb moment. And I was able to start Spirishore, the company that I just sold. So innovation is not textbook. Innovation is not a PowerPoint. Innovation is seeing an opportunity and having the desire, the risk-taking, the timing to just go for it and pursue it to the best of your ability.
That's a great story. Thanks for sharing your journey. And but for finding the unmet need, I'm sure because you have a great experience of studying research for a long time, that's why you could find the unmet need, and you could use your skills and knowledge and also your communication skills, and you have a great sense of humor to attract many people to building the great product. Of course, you could build a great team as well. So thanks for sharing again, Solomon. And Masashi-san, as you are successful, one of the top successful Japanese American, venture capitalists, have many exits in Silicon Valley. As you are venture capitalist, how could you find also those, potentially successful next unicorns, great entrepreneurs?
Right.
People like Solomon.
Yeah, the short answer is I can't. It's impossible to find them. But what's really important is it's all about people and knowing the people and being able to reach the people, and then being able to contribute value to those people, right? For example, person like Solomon, especially after his first successful exit, investors know him, investor community know him, VC community know him, strategic companies know him, right? So if he, when he started his new company, I'm sure that initial fundraising process was very different from the first one when he founded Spirishore. I'm sure it was a lot easier. Investors approached him instead of you having to approach investors. So the dynamic changes. So that's how quickly and how dynamic Silicon Valley is. So being on the investor side, what's important is, A, knowing these people, knowing entrepreneurs, and then B, being seen as the value-adding investor who can really contribute and help these companies create the future. And I think that's a really important part. That VCs are not just like picking and choosing the best company and being able to the best venture capitalists are not the ones who can identify the best potential company, but it's the best venture capitalists are the ones who can work together with entrepreneurs and the team and then create the future, and then that future might be different from the original future that the entrepreneurs had created, designed, but nonetheless, you together work with the team and then create the future. So essentially, you become a small community, and it's a partnership, long-term partnership. So I think that's the mentality you need, especially if you want to survive in the Silicon Valley for more than just a few years.
Wow. Like, I know you for like 5 or 6 years, and your answer actually impressed me, Your
Thank you.
Best, talks since I met you, Masashi-san. And, I didn't know you are that great person as well. Anyway, so you say, finding, also you have to be recognized by entrepreneurs. And also you have to meet with them, you have to work with them, and you have to grow and chasing the dream together and creating a new future together. That's
right.
Yeah. So it's like a marriage, right?
Yeah, and then John, you know this well because you work with a lot of early stage companies and entrepreneurs, and you're both on the kind of the startup side and then also the investor side, right? So and I think that's also really important to be able to have experienced both sides, to have done the investment side and also the being on the receiving side, started a company, to be able to really be part of the community and get a respect from the community.
Yeah, thanks. So Solomon, as you are an entrepreneur, what kind of investors you like and you hate? Tell us about who you want to be friend with, who you want to be friend with as well,
Well, let me answer that question somewhat differently than you asked it. I have found that just like life, the entrepreneur investor relationship needs to be built on trust, but it's always evolving. It's very bad for an entrepreneur to make decisions, always be making decisions by themselves without consulting the investor, right? Entrepreneurs always, at least the successful ones, always have a good working relationship in which both the investor listens to the entrepreneur and the entrepreneur is listening to the investor. So there is no good, I wouldn't say there is a good or bad, but there is listen to each other, right? And talk to each other. Don't try to talk past each other. Like a good marriage, you'll always go through ups and downs, right? But if the investor really values to have a return on their money, they will never use the heavy hand to get what they want from the entrepreneur. And the entrepreneur will also not just say it's my decision and my decision alone that matters. They'll always go to their investor, their board of directors to get direction, especially when they have they reach a crossroad where they need to make a decision. So it's a work in progress. I've never really had a good or bad. It's always been together we succeed or together we fail. That's the way I think of an investor and the entrepreneurial relationship.
That's a great answer as well. So what do you think, Masashi-san, about the current startup ecosystem in Silicon Valley? What's happening in Silicon Valley these days in startup scene?
Well, it's thriving, right? Like despite the COVID situation, the funding is coming in, especially the healthcare companies, right? The nature of healthcare startups, at least in the past few years, has been, of those, orienting, surrounding digital solutions. So they're really thriving. And if you look at the, digital healthcare kind of like IPO market, for example, right? In the past 2 years, 16 companies went public. The collective, market cap of those companies are over $100 billion, which is in Japanese yen, 10 trillion, which is crazy amount. But the COVID has really accelerated that, the shift toward digital solutions, new infrastructure, digital infrastructure, and VCs are positioned well. The startups are positioned well if they can raise funding. It's been, I think the caveat is that it's been challenging for like seed stage companies to raise money. It's been challenging for first time VCs to raise money because the mindset of the in these like the turbulent macro environments situations, the people tend to kind of gravitate towards seemingly safer, more secure things, and that that's the traditional, like well-known bigger VCs or unicorns. So we just saw the Andreessen raise 2 funds with the combined amount of $4.5 billion. It's a crazy amount of to manage as a fund, but they have their well-known VC, they can raise it, and unicorns are thriving. So it's good, and it's good, and the traditional companies, maybe big Japanese companies, should be fearful of the impact these companies are making and will be making in the next few years.
Yeah. So thanks, Masashi-san, for the insights. And why is it like only Silicon Valley is the place entrepreneurs and investors still? How come they attract to those two kinds of people? Like, why Silicon Valley is the best place for starting own companies?
Not necessarily. I mean, Silicon Valley has everything, right? It has the ecosystem. So, I mean, it's been around for decades now, and the entrepreneurs are here, academia is here, the service providers, VCs, angels, all are here. So it's a convenient place. But with the COVID, it's not like we're meeting anyone in person, right? So it actually doesn't matter too much. But what matters is the network that people have built already, right? So because you're not meeting anyone new now, it has to go through your existing network, and if you have that, it really doesn't matter. You can be, and then in the healthcare space, Boston, Seattle, San Diego, Nashville, Minnesota, Minneapolis, Austin. These are all startup hubs. Portland, smaller, but the mini ecosystems are there. So I think, for Japan, I think it's really important to have those ecosystems where, it's not just startups, it's not just the big companies, but investors, service providers, all are in a small, vicinity in the same town who can help each other to create, innovation.
Yeah, thanks. So Solomon, you are starting a new startup, right, in Silicon Valley?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you decide to do in Silicon Valley again? Or could you do in Japan or different countries to start your next venture?
Yeah, that's a good question, and probably Masashi has some ideas about that. But I have built up a very strong network of both support and investors, right? And quite frankly, right now, John, there's not really much anywhere I can go in this world, right? Because of COVID. So my choices, when it comes to, let's say, moving to Japan, are limited. But I could have started this company anywhere that I wanted. So my opinion here is that a startup can be started anywhere. It depends on how driven the person that has that initial idea wants to do. But just to maybe I'm moving on a little bit ahead here, but there was a development that happened in the last 2 days that for me also shows the good thing, that one thing that investors and entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley, how differently they think. There is a company called Resilience, right? And Resilience is a company that was just formed by Arch Partners and 8VC. And it has taken this opportunity, this timing, to create a brand new startup that is dedicated to manufacturing PPE, or personal protective equipment. Right now, there is an opportunity where you really do not have, an entrepreneur that could do that by themselves, but you had this Silicon Valley VCs that wanted to do something like social good, right? And they went and they started a company and they brought in an entrepreneur to run the company to make something good for society, right? The timing is perfect now to do something for the social good and not only gain the results in terms of money, but also feel good about helping society in general. So, something like that is something that I uniquely have seen a lot in Silicon Valley, right? And I think other ecosystems should also adopt, startup ecosystems and investors should also adopt something like that. Give back to society.
Cool. So Silicon Valley is, everybody used to say, changing the world. But now it's a second, I think it's the world, including Silicon Valley, is shifting to going to the next level. That's we do impact for good. We do make startups for good. We do invest for good. So I think solving problems, making everybody happier. So that's a second theme of today's topic. スライド、トークセッション2でお願いいたします。So I was actually, I traveled with my family last year. I've been, back and forth Silicon Valley and Tokyo for last 6 years. However, I wanted to see different world. Israel, India, Paris for Vivatech, Estonia, Luxembourg, and Singapore. So travel over 11 different ecosystems in the world. Everybody, try to build their own community, own ecosystems. And many people, including Silicon Valley, as Solomon just mentioned, healthcare is digital health, medical device, also space, aerospace, IoT. Many things for people try to do for social good. So Masashi-san, what is social good? Tell us about your opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're having this entire week to figure out what that is, right? But yeah, from my perspective, it's just making a positive impact to society, right? And if you put a VC's spin to it, it's essentially creating next industry that does social good. And I think that's healthcare in general is naturally doing something that's socially good, and because society is made up of people, and making people healthy naturally lead to healthier society, which is a better society, right? Good for society. But I think when I think about healthcare, what's happening is the stakeholders of what used to be an individual's kind of concern really has kind of expanded beyond just individuals. So it's not like when it used to be that you get sick or you get heart attack, you just die, right? But now you don't die. You actually people put stent in your artery and you survive, and there's a healthcare cost incurred. And then people have to care for that individual, and then you live longer, and you suffer additional sickness, and more healthcare costs, and more care providers, and all these are happening. And if you look at chronic diseases like diabetes and now like Alzheimer's and dementia, those are all chronic diseases, and it's not the individuals who are actually suffering. Yes, they are suffering, but the care providers, the entire society is suffering because of these chronic diseases. The nature of the sickness has changed to the point where it's impacting the society as a whole. So from the healthcare's perspective, I think it's really important to treat these sicknesses or diseases as not the individual problems, but the society as a whole's problem, and then create solutions around it. So because the problem is not the individual, but society's problem, the solution naturally has to be a societal approach to it. And I think that being able to create a solution like that will naturally lead to good deed to society. And I'm using healthcare as an example, but I think it applies to every industry, right? Now we're at the point in the human history that everything is impacting everyone. So being able to solve a problem, and ideally big problem, naturally ends up doing good things to society. So that's the kind of the very VC capitalistic mindset to the society, what the social good means.
Yeah. So, because you could, if you want to make more money, you don't need to be in healthcare VC. But why do you, initially, like, when you were after the graduate from college, why did you decide to work as a VC? And why you still now you are creating your own VC? Why you are in this industry for a long time, Masashi-san?
Yeah. So I think so. I was talking to my friend and my wife about like what this is, and it's so my driver has always been very self-oriented. I want to do something. I want to achieve something, or I want to create something, and that has had rippling effect. So I never imagined that I would be a healthcare venture capitalist. I've never imagined I never dreamed of starting my own VC, but over the past 15, 20 years, I kind of acquired the skills and network and maybe the trust that puts me in a position to be able to do that. And when I once I have that, but this is just because I wanted it. Like now I have maybe possibility to be able to do it. Why not? Let's try it, right? And I know that what I do will have rippling effect of helping startup companies who are creating better world, people in healthier world, and potentially changing Japanese big companies on how they do business, and younger generation of people who might aspire to do something bigger and more exciting and really at the global scale. So it's to me it's just by luck. Like I never wanted to be this. I didn't even know what venture capitalist was when I was younger, but I can, and it's kind of cool what I do. I think so isn't it cool to be able to do things that you think you're cool, you think it's cool, and that meet cool people like you and Solomon, and along the way change the world for better, right?
That's a great answer, Masai-san. Thanks. So Solomon, tell us about your opinion. What is social good, and why do you really want to do the next startup again in the healthcare? What kind of people you want to help?
No. You're muted again.
It's okay.
Go ahead. So that's a very good question, John. The company that I just started has the mission to help people with cancer receive their medication faster. And here's what I mean. 2 years ago, I was sitting in a city here in California called La Jolla, California. And I was talking to one of my mentors. And his name is Dr. Eric Topo. I think many of you might know who Dr. Eric Topo is. And he's written actually a very good book that is called The Democratization of Healthcare. Now, what he and I talked about and what he challenged me to do is to go into a healthcare, find a healthcare need, unmet need, which one size does not fit all. So try to help people in which a solution that was made for everybody does not necessarily meet their need. And cancer patients are one of those, right? We all know that, you have chemotherapy and it might work for one person, but the next person, right, might take a lot of chemotherapy but not be able to do what? Survive their disease. So the one thing that Dr. Topo said, being able to use genomics, proteomics, so that the medication or the therapeutics that a patient receives are specifically tailored to them, they're specifically made for them, increases the chance of that patient receiving benefit. And this brings us to the potential for messenger RNA therapeutics. They use DNA as a template, and they produce mRNA, which is very unique to each specific person from where the DNA was received from. Now, when it comes to treating a cancer patient, giving them medication, giving them a vaccine that is specifically from their DNA really increases their ability to do what? To survive the cancer that is ailing them. So for me, that is democratization, because then every single person has a say and can get a benefit, a social good from that specific medicine. It's not a one-size-fits-all. So that is what, for me, has made me especially start this new company. And it's still very young. But the vision here is to help make specific therapeutic medication vaccine that can be tailored to each individual person, each individual patient for their own good. That for me is what I've come across and I've taken to heart as being social good and what is the genesis of my company.
Wow, that's impressive. We should do interview again for Forbes. Yeah. So guys, we have 20 more minutes for the next talk, and I'd love to hear more about from you guys. So making everybody happier, and also my vision is innovations for healthier life. We want everybody to feel happier and having a healthier life. And because when you feel healthier, it means I'm sure you're happy. And when you're happy, you love, you're, how do you call it? I'm sure you have a great family and you have great friends, and also you contribute to the society, your country, the world. And that's why we'd like to also have many great healthier startup ecosystem. And why I mean healthier ecosystem is not only for startups, it's an ecosystem for global ecosystem for investors, also researchers, also students, also LGBT or handicapped people, everybody, because this time we are living together. We are actually, everybody's our neighbors, even when we are talking on the Zoom or on the Facebook. I'd like to hear your opinion. What kind of startup ecosystems we actually really need? Masai-san, please start.
So this is a really tough question. But I think, but it's a really good point. When people tend to talk about startup ecosystem, people do tend to focus on how the ecosystem are helping startups grow and succeed. But sometimes and oftentimes I think people miss that fact that startups are also part of the ecosystem. Yeah. So I think that's a really good point. And to that point, one of the things that I have kind of learned over the past 3 years is that it's startups can't succeed by themselves, and also startups are just small part of bigger society, bigger ecosystem. So I think that's a kind of eye-opening thing for me, that startups are just as important as big companies and just as important as nonprofits, all these companies, right? Individuals, groups of people, academia. So I think one of the most important things is that we need an ecosystem or society where everyone kind of sees everyone as their peers and partners, and that big companies are not better than startups or vice versa. Investors are not better than entrepreneurs or vice versa. And then work towards same goal. And I think that's something that's missing in the society recently. And so having that one goal, bigger goal that's bigger than themselves or individuals, that people can work toward too. So, but when you start having that perspective, you start seeing like what are the pieces you're missing, you need to augment, and how to allocate your resources. And I think that's how if you're really building ecosystem from scratch, I think that's how you need to do it. But the important thing is that startups are just part of the entire ecosystem in society.
Yeah, thanks for your opinion. Let me share the screen. And so this is from my Silicon Valley Ventures website. I draw this with my friend work for Fujitsu. So this is a startup ecosystem in Silicon Valley. As you can see, like lawyers like Wilson Sonsini, media like Forbes, TechCrunch, or even the TV dramas, Silicon Valley. That's a fun drama. And also government, and also accelerator like Y Combinator or Alchemist Accelerator, and VCs like like Masashi-san, and also many angel investors in Silicon Valley, incubator, many startup events, and NPO. Like 3 of us belong to US Japan MedTech Frontiers. We do the Medical Device Innovation Forum every year. Also consulting company and hacker house, or So when we look at this diagram, many people try to help startups, and now let me share another screen, and so, oh, by the way, this is the interview. I interviewed Solomon for my Forbes Japan, and I took a look at who is this smiley gentleman with a device. So everyone can read my blog about Solomon and his exit. And what I want to share last is the now Cabinet Office Japan chose 8 different startup ecosystems. So this is also my column on Forbes. Can you guys see?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is 8 different ecosystems in Japan. So as you can see in Hokkaido, starting from Hokkaido, and also number 6 is Sendai, Tohoku region. And number 1 is the Tokyo ecosystem, not only Tokyo, Tsukuba and Kawasaki, famous for deep tech, and also Wako City. And second is Nagoya, Central Japan startup ecosystem. Number 3 is actually Kansai region. Now Osaka, Kyoto, and Kobe getting together for the innovation. Number 7 is Hiroshima. Number 8 is Kitakyushu SDGs. And number 4 is a Fukuoka startup ecosystem. So also Japan has tried to change, and we building a startup ecosystem.
Well, I think we lost John.
Oh. ちょっとお待ちください。
はい。
ちょっと森本さんが落ちてしまったみたいなので、すごく流暢に喋られてたのに、急にいなくなって。
I'm back. I just went to go for a walk. I'm so sorry. Anyway, so we are trying to build ecosystems globally. However, I want to put a little bit love in this ecosystem, because if you go to Silicon Valley or Israel, we don't need to build exactly same ecosystem. Different cities has a different kind of people, different kind of also backbone of the industry or manufacturing skills of people. We don't need to, maybe Hokkaido don't need to try to produce unicorns. Hokkaido may be good for agriculture. Agri-tech maybe maybe they're very good at it. So what I'm saying is, when I travel around the world, 11 different ecosystems, of course, each city has a uniqueness. However, everybody tries to be like a Silicon Valley. But this is not sustainable, actually for life as well. It's good to produce unicorn, and also great to produce zebra company, like a more sustainable, but no big variation. but many people, like a family business, can work together for a long time as well. So maybe it's a time for social good to have a greater ecosystem for unicorns and for zebra, like for different kinds of animals. We can maybe unicorn can get married with zebra and create a different kind of animal. So Solomon, because you live in Africa, you live in Canada, you live in Silicon Valley, and you often come to Japan. From your experience as a human being and also founder, what kind of our happy ecosystem we should design together now?
That's a very good question. Let me use the ecosystem that is called a giraffe, right? so here's what I'm saying. I've actually had an opportunity for this startup to go through an accelerator system. And accelerator system is where, I'm pretty sure as all of you know, is where you go with your idea when it's still very young, you collect some data, and then you present it to investors who can inspect the data and be able to say, hey, this is a good idea. Unicorns are very good at making a lot of money and being valued high. But if a unicorn did not do its competition analysis, right? A giraffe is so tall that it can see when competition is coming and it can start to adjust accordingly, right? Yes, it might be eaten by a lion, but when you are able to see the lion coming, you have a lot of ways to countermeasures, I call them, right? To be able to adjust accordingly. So for me, an ecosystem that allows startup companies to not only test out various business models, to see, what data their ideas can generate, to just be able to make the investor breathe easier in terms of putting money into their startup, right? Is part of the ecosystem. And actually, John, let me ask you that question. Based on that pictorial that you have shown us, in Japan, what part of the ecosystem needs a lot more help than what you have seen here in Silicon Valley? Let me ask you that question.
Thank you for asking me, Solomon. Japan needs more investors. Actually, because many people say we need more entrepreneurs. However, how could babies born? We should have a happy marriage, parents, and we should have a foreign father and a Japanese mother, get together and have a happier mixed innovation kids. So everybody watching this, please visit us and let's get married with Japanese. We can prepare many Japanese beautiful ladies, beautiful men, and then we get married. Then produce more kids. What I'm saying is, it's true that
What are you saying?
we need to have many investors, good social investors, to produce many kinds of babies, including cows, babies, pigs, unicorns, different kinds of animals. Then we can have a global innovation ecosystem. So we need more people coming to Japan. We are welcome. Everybody is welcome. Is it answering your question?
No, it does answer your question. So it feels as if funding and having the capital there is very important. And just the diverse ecosystem.
Yeah. We should make the global innovation zoo. Global like a safari. Everyone can live together.
Yeah.
And then Yeah.
Matashi, the same question to you. Sorry to interrupt. It's the same question to you. From an investor side of view, what do you think is Japan needs?
Definitely investors. There are a lot of early stage investors, but not middle or later. That's really important. And then the other thing is, the investors or entrepreneurs or service providers with global perspective. I think that's really important. For now, the Japanese startup ecosystem is, it never goes beyond Japan. Some companies try, but none of them have really succeeded, right? And which is fine if we're, if Japan is, back to, Edo Jidai and, not interacting with an outside world, but they are, right? So, as long as Japan is playing by its rules and, doesn't really, and that rule is not, so different from the outside world that the outside world doesn't see the Japanese market as an attractive market, then it'll be difficult to attract foreign money, foreign investors, foreign talents, to really create globally competitive startups. And I think you first have to know the rules and how the world is approaching this innovation thing, and then create Japanese version of that. So I think it's John, you're playing a really important role. So it's up to you. And if Solomon, you're moving to Japan, it's up to you too.
はい。はい。ちょっと皆様大変ちょっとお話盛り上がっているところ恐縮なんですけれども、そろそろお時間なので、クロージングに移らさせていただきたいと思います。はい。皆様はどうでしたでしょうか。はい。すごい私聞いていて、最後の動物園、世界のズーを作るみたいなところすごく面白いなと思ったので、ぜひともエコシステムを実現するために、そのようなものを作りたいと思います。はい。ゲストの皆様、本日はありがとうございました。はい。最後に、森若さんの方から宣伝があるということなので、森若さん、よろしくお願いいたします。
はい。小宮さん、皆さん、thanks so much for watching。一緒にですね、イノベーションのグローバルズーを作っていきましょう。シリコンバレー初、そのズーを作るために、シリコンバレー初、世界最大の起業家イベント、コミュニティをご存知でしょうか。シリコンバレーで2010年に生まれたスタートアップグラインドは、全世界600都市、125カ国、350万人の起業家が集まる世界最大級のコミュニティとなっております。こちらの方を、渋谷、そして大阪でスタートしてるんですけれども、この度11月29日午後8時、今週の日曜日ですね、午後8時から素敵なゲストをお迎えして、世界を変えるべく、投資家の皆さん、起業家の皆さん、学生の皆さん、研究者の皆さん、たくさんの、ほんと、近所のですね、果物屋さん、コンビニの方、もう皆さん、大歓迎、500名、無料でですね、ご招待いたします。スタートアップグラインド福岡、今週始まります。で、最初のゲストはシリコンバレーでも長年修行して、日本に帰国後ですね、私の長州の兄貴分なんですけれども、なんと、テラモーターズ、電動バイク日本一、世界に入るテラモーターズ、インドでもたくさん売れてます。そしてテラドローンも世界ランキングナンバー1になっております。そのファウンダーである徳重徹社長をお招きして、日本を変えるべきですね、世界とつなげて、このようなソーシャルグッドなイベントをしていきます。そして2人目のゲスト、その時発表しますけど、シリコンバレーの女性のアクセラレーターといった方です。その方もお迎えしたいと、12月の13日はお迎えしたいと思います。まずは今週日曜日、午後8時からですね、日本時間、全世界から、はい、見ていただけますので、スタートアップグラインド福岡で検索していただけますと、幸いです。本日は本当にソーシャルグッドをお招きいただき、たくさんのですね、素晴らしい、小宮さんとも出会えたし、まさしさんとも、ソロモンとも、こうやって楽しい、熱い話をできてですね、沢田さん見てますか？コースタジオの。沢田さん見てますよね。皆さんこれ、ぜひぜひ、拝見していただいて、一緒に世界をより良くしていきましょう。イノベーションフォーヘルスエアライフ。ありがとうございました。
はい。再度になりますが、ゲストの皆様、本日はありがとうございました。はい。これにて、
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
終了させていただきます。 視聴者の皆様、ご視聴いただきありがとうございました。はい、それでは皆様で、さようなら。
さよなら、ソーシャルグッド終わった